Hi everyone, how you doing? Hope you've had a lovely week at school and Torby in hospital. So Nana's going to read you a story tonight, and it's called It's Nice to Have a Friend. And it is nice to have a friend, and I bet you guys have got lots and lots of friends. So if you're sitting comfortably, Nana will begin. Tibbs was a farm cat. She was a little tabby with fine big whiskers and a nice long tail. Punch was the farm dog. He was a big collie with a bushy tail and very loud bark. Bark. He didn't like cats one little bit, and Tibbs didn't like dogs. Tibbs hardly ever went near Punch unless he was tied up, because she knew he would chase her, and Punch was always on the watch for her so that he could tear after her and send her flying up to the top of the wall, hissing and spitting. And then he would bark the place down. Now one day when Punch was tied up, he came out into the yard on his long chain to sniff at the garden roller that somebody had left there. He walked around it, and somehow or other his chain got twisted, and he couldn't get back to his kennel. There he was, held tightly by the garden roller and his chain pulling at his neck. Punch pulled at it. He rolled over to try and get it loose, and all that happened was it twisted his chain so much that it almost choked him. He couldn't bark. He could only make a whine or a growl, so nobody heard him and nobody came to help. He choked and struggled, but his chain was too tightly twisted around the heavy garden roller for him to get free. Only Tibbs the farm cat heard the noises he was making. She jumped on top of the wall and looked at poor Punch. What peculiar noises! What was the matter with him? "Tibbs," croaked Punch, "help me, I'm choking." Tibbs jumped down and take a look. No, she couldn't help him. She didn't know anything about chains. But she was sorry for Punch, and she thought of something else. She ran to the farmhouse and mewed loudly. Mrs. Straws, the farmer's wife, came to the door. "What is it?" she said. Tibbs ran a little away and then looked back. The farmer's wife followed her, and when she too heard the strange noises that Punch was making out in the yard, she went to see what they were, and in a minute or two she'd undone the chain, untwisted it, and patted poor Punch and given him a long drink of water. Punch looked at Tibbs on the wall. "Thank you," he said. "You can come and sit near me. I shall never chase you again. You saved me from choking." But Tibbs didn't really trust him. She would never come down from the wall. Still, they had many a talk together, and that was nice for both of them. Then one day Tibbs didn't come. She didn't come for 3 days, and when she told Punch why, "I've got 4 little kittens," she told him proudly. "They're my very own. They're in the kitchen, but I do wish the children would leave them alone. They're always pulling them about, and it worries me." Next day, Tibbs looked even more worried. "Bobby took one of my kittens and dropped it," she said. "I'm going to take them away from the kitchen. I shall put them in the barn." So she took each of her kittens round by the neck and carried them one by one to the corner of the barn. But the children found them there and took them back to the kitchen again. They were like live toys to them, and they wanted to play with them. Tibbs was unhappy. She liked the children and she didn't want to scratch them. "But what am I to do, Punch?" she said. "One of my kittens has a bad leg because Bobby squeezed it too hard yesterday. I wish I could think of somewhere else to take them." Punch listened, his big head to one side. "I know a place where nobody would ever find them," he said, "but I don't think you'd like it. It's a place where nobody would ever look." "Where?" asked Tibbs. "Here, in my kennel," said Punch. "There's plenty of good warm straw and plenty of room for you and your kittens in the back. I promise not to sit on you. I'll be very careful. You were good to me once, and now let me be kind to you." Tibbs thought about it. Did she trust Punch, or didn't she? He was a dog. She was a cat. She didn't know if they could really be friends. Still, she would try. So when nobody was about, Tibbs carried each of her kittens by its neck all the way from the kitchen to the yard where the kennel was, and one by one she laid the little things in the warm straw at the back. Then she settled down on them herself, purring happily. Punch was very good. He didn't even let his tail rest on the kittens, and he gave them all the room he could. He even licked them when Tibbs wasn't there. And when one of them patted his nose, he was surprised and delighted. The children looked all over the place for the kittens. They called and called Tibbs, but she didn't come. She wasn't going to give her hiding place away. The kittens were safe and happy now. Punch sat in his kennel so that nobody could ever peep in. Aha! Look where you like, Bobby and Betty, but you won't find the kittens. It's nice to have a friend, purred Tibbs. Nobody knows where I am. Keep my secret, Punch. He will, of course, and we certainly won't tell Bobby and Betty, will we? Oh, aren't they naughty little children? I suppose they only want to give them cuddles, don't they? But that was good, wasn't it? Fancy a cat and its kittens going into the kennels. Wow. So I hope you enjoyed that. And I'll be back tomorrow to read you another story. So sleep well, and I love you loads and loads. So night-night, Ruby. Night-night, Max. Night-night, Atty. Night-night, Torben. Nana loves you, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.